Good morning and hello to another kerfuffle webinar here, and I am delighted to have with me an extremely glamorous trio of people, but I'm going to start off with the most glamorous of all. Nick, good morning today. How are you, sir? You okay?
Very well. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm okay. I am stuck in the salubrious Stockport train station, so just to show I can mix it up with the best of them. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Simon. Nice to be back on again.
It is great. It's great to have you back on and resplendent there in your SortMove top. I love it. And then saving the best to last, Steph. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Simon. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, no, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Thrilled to be getting out and indeed thrilled to be catching up with you all today. We're going to be talking about today, guys, just before we introduce you, we're going to be talking about where tech and customer service are a perfect fit for estate agents. And I suppose the importance of choosing the right suppliers, which, you know, if it isn't on the lips of every single estate agent, it certainly should do. Before we kick into some of those questions, though, would you mind just introducing yourselves and the businesses you represent? And let's kick off with Steph, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the operations director for TA UK. We are a virtual estate agency brokerage. We are operational now across 18 counties, having launched in January this year, and we are essentially bridging the gap between a US or Australian style real estate brokerage with the kind of brand and branch experience that a UK customer wants and expects.
Excellent, and it has. I mean, what a time to choose to enter the marketplace. So, just to hear it obviously going so well, it's really, really exciting. It's obviously an incredibly strong brand and backed up by some really impressive people. So, I've been watching obviously with interest there. So, very keen to get your feedback for today. So, that's great. And Nick, yourself?
Yeah, I'm Steph's business partner. Cover West Cornwall, and I've known Steph for many years, but came on board TA UK in April, and have been very fortunate to have a patch that's done incredibly well under the branding and has a fantastic reputation in its very kind of embryonic stage. So yeah, I run West Cornwall down here with Steph.
Excellent, thank you for that. Thank you. And Tom, yourself, talk to us about SortMove. Just give an overview of the services you can provide out to estate agents and what we're here going to be discussing in a bit more detail today.
Yeah, so I head up SortMove, which is one of 3 brands in Sort Group, the others being Sort Legal and Sort Refer. And SortMove launched at the beginning of last year as a digital hub of services for property professionals. Our bread and butter is conveyancing, but we also offer other services like surveys and specialist property reports.
Exceptional, thank you for that. That's great. So let's just caveat and talk about what we're going to be talking about here today. Is that obviously to Stefan and Nick, I suppose, here is why is it so important to you to find the right supplier? And what do you constitute as defining a good supplier when you're looking at these important business relationships?
I suppose from my perspective, I look at it from 2 angles, one being the client experience, but the other also being the agent experience. So within our model, our agents are self-employed. They earn the bulk of the commission that they charge out to their customer. But part of my responsibility is to make sure that they have the very best tools at their disposal to go out and be successful, also as early on as possible, because going self-employed is a risk to some extent, and particularly within our industry where must be 96% plus of the UK agency population are employed, we want to make sure that they have everything that they need to be successful out the gates. And I think with our industry being so transactional, we've never focused on relationships with our clients, or indeed invariably with suppliers outside of the local solicitor that's down the road that gets the bulk of the business just because they were on the high street. Obviously, the industry has changed so much now. We don't have a reliance so much on a high street sort of presence. And so it's about going out and finding the very best options out there. And when I say client and agent together, I believe if the agent has the best tools to deliver the best experience, by virtue of that, the client also wins.
It's yeah, because it's not enough these days, is it, to have the old lazy local solicitor who may give you a couple of probate cases and everything else. They're demanding more, aren't they? I mean, they ultimately understand when it's your name above the door. Literally, it's Nick who's the person in the hot seat and is reliant on this. If you're pushing that relationship forwards, you own that, don't you? So you've got to have the very best partners sat in your corner, really, don't you? And that's for either of you.
I was just going to add that, I think it goes even beyond that. There is such a lack of understanding of particularly the conveyancing process from a client level and often from an agent level as well. So naturally, whether you recommended somebody or not, your client is going to rely on you as the agent throughout that process, because it can be stressful, confusing, and yes, sometimes with certain conveyancers, perhaps slightly arduous. So certainly from our perspective, I'm sure that Nick will agree with me, making sure that you've got people that are on the same hymn sheet in terms of the experience as a whole, that we all go out to together to deliver through that transaction. That's so important, whether it's easy to sell or not, or whether the conveyancer is your best friend every single day of that transaction, is regardless. If you've got the same end goal in mind, the client will have the best experience.
I think what we've seen over the past 12, 18 months following on from the kind of COVID-19 pandemic is that the estate agent conveyancer relationship has always been relatively strained within the industry, and I'm sure any estate agent who watches this or conveyancer will probably agree. But I think what's really been highlighted over the last few months is with these stamp duty thresholds coming in, and the marketplace being as buoyant as it has been, it's never been more noticeable. And I think that's why, certainly for me, going self-employed in this business at a time that I did, whilst a lot of people will say that's excellent, it's also been probably the most demanding time on my energy and my time and how I'm handling my clients that I've ever had in my entire career. So I think that really highlights how important it is to have, as Steph was saying, the best kind of industry experts in your corner, because it's an incredibly exhausting marketplace, and it's a time of which where it's completely unprecedented, where we're dealing with maybe 20 to 30 inquiries per property within 24 hours when they come to market. And you don't want to forget about those people where you've already gone sale agreed, because they are the clients who have already agreed to use you. They're the ones who really, really need their hand held. And if you can't do that in a very time pressured way, and if you can do that by having really good communication with both the conveyancer and your client, you're going to really, really struggle in the marketplace that you're in. You're going to really struggle with your reputation, which is something that I think we've done incredibly well down here, is having that ability to communicate really, really well with people. And it's something that in my area, which is relatively old-fashioned, service is still absolutely key to every single person that I come across. So I think that's really highlighted over the last 18 months how important those relationships are.
It seems to me that it's both the strength and the and also the risk, isn't it? Is that you can step ahead from the crowd, can't you? And if you deliver that extra level of service there, you're going to really benefit. Because I think at the start of it is unforgiving, isn't it? And at the start of the pandemic, people were very forgiving about, they understood that customer service might not be there for a variety of reasons, but that did evaporate quite quickly, didn't it? And if you weren't able to deliver that service, well, you can see on the review, you can go to pretty much any review platform. The great British public did not pull their punches, did they?
If there's one thing we know about British people, we love talking about property and we love moaning. So if we get to moan about property, and we were pretty much ticking every box of a delightful conversation.
It's the dream ticket. It's the dream combination, isn't it? Yeah.
I do think it does come down to, the general British public are massively uneducated about the conveyancing process as a whole. And look, it's relatively boring, so I don't blame them for not knowing much. but also there's a lot of agents out there that perhaps also don't have a great understanding of the process. And as you know, Tom says this a lot, it is an afterthought. You know, a neg in a branch goes, oh crap, I best, you know, quote for solicitors now and look forward to my 25 quid I'll get on completion, woohoo. Because the relationship's always been sort of, you know, I'm sure there were conveyancers back in the day that used to think that, you know, us dirty, sort of uneducated estate agents are a pain in the butt because we approach everything from a sort of really salesy sort of angle, in that we're trying to be very creative of, here's a problem, let's try and work out a solution. And conveyancers are like, well, no, we've got a process.
And they're looking at all that process in detail. It doesn't naturally fit together, does it, often?
No, not natural bedfellows.
And Tom, as Steph said there, it can be a little bit boring, I think was the phrase she used. She's certainly not talking about you. Let's clarify that here. Talk to us though, Tom, about that real difficulty, because obviously people are moving so much less than they were. How do you possibly educate the great British public in a simplistic fashion about what is involved, and what responsibility do you think agents need to be about being really honest? I know you've been quite forthright on this in the past. Do you want to just give us your view on that?
Yeah, well, I think the importance is, particularly what we've seen over the past 12 months, where we've had an explosion of prop tech during this pandemic era, but we've also had an explosion of sales agreed because of the stamp duty holiday, and it's kind of really highlighted even more the challenges that we face. But I think what we've learned over the past 12 months really is that technology cannot and will not replace service. We know that the clients move on average, I think it's at least once every 18 years now. So what we've got now is very different from 2-3 years ago, let alone 10, 15, 18 years. So that service has to be there. It has to be there for education for clients. It has to be there for setting expectations. It has to be there for dealing with emotions. Because so many transactions have been laden with emotion over the past 12 months, particularly because if this doesn't get across the line, we can't afford that stamp duty. That's why we're doing it now. You know, technology can't do anything about that. It's that human at the end of the phone, at the end of an email, at the end of a WhatsApp, at the end of a Zoom call, that's going to help that client. Technology will support it. So having the right processes in place will mean that the agent can do what they're best at and service that client.
Look, everyone wants to have the right people, and that's the most important. But I've never seen a business, been lucky enough to work with some of the very best. You know, the right people coupled with the right technology and suppliers is just an unbeatable partnership, isn't it? And I think that's the key we're all striving for, isn't it? Is to find those genuine businesses that are partners to your business rather than just suppliers of. That I think we all know, without naming any names, that those sorts of businesses. Specifically though, Tom, as well, looking at it, do you think, am I being optimistic? It seems to me, when I've been talking to over the last year, given the buoyancy, the red hot market and the stamp duty and everything else, are agents any more empathetic of what you guys have had to go through and the whole conveyancing process? Or was that short-lived?
I think to start off with, there was a lot of fire on both sides. I mean, conveyancing estate agency, for rightly or wrongly, has been like oil and water. There's just been, there's been conflict, there's been the blame game, there's been talk to them because they're the problem. But you know what? We have seen the worst of the industry over the past 12 months, but I think we've also seen the best of it as well, because the top quality agents and property professionals and the top quality suppliers have actually worked really smartly together. Because, as I said, the right level of tech can support those relationships. And you know what? In the face of these challenges, we launched our Fast Start Seller digital onboarding service, We were in closed beta in Q4 last year. We came out of that and was open to any agent from January. And even still now, our rolling quarter stats are that sellers that start with that tech proposition are exchanging on average 44% quicker than what the industry is reporting.
I mean,
and
that's incredible, Tom. And just give an overview of, so for those people that don't understand that, just because, you know, if that isn't the attention grabber right there, why people should be in attention, you know, it's so important to their businesses, just walk them through how that works for your client.
Yeah, it's all about setting things up correctly right at the beginning. I know from experience, so I was an ex-agent. I managed successful branches between 2003 and 2011, where we didn't have the right level of technology to support us. So I look at things now, you know, external to Sort Group as well, and go, you know, I really wish I had that when I was operating in branch. And actually, this fast start proposition is absolutely something I would have loved to have had. Because I always talked about conveyancing earlier in the process. I always talked about it at listing stage and the importance of getting clients sale ready, so that when that buyer's found, bang, draft contracts can go out. So that time-saving element has always been there, but it was difficult to manage because you were instructing law firms direct. They all have various strengths of new business departments, and you never knew when packs were being returned and set up correctly. Now, with a tool like ourselves, it's monitored by SortMove, but we don't just rely on the technology. We have a central office team that are monitoring the return rates of those packs. If we didn't have that, it would be that same kind of feeling of, right, have we actually got clients that are sale ready? So yeah, that digital onboarding, it's getting clients' protocol documents filled in online, getting their ID checks done online, integration with land registry, document uploaders for supporting things like permissions and certificates and guarantees. And you know, we've got clients doing that now in let's say a 2-hour time frame when they are instructed. If they're instructed on a manual process, it could be 5 working days later that they get paperwork in the post. And then you can start to understand why there's delays in the process, particularly if clients are instructed at sale agreed stage rather than
of course,
much earlier in the process. But you know what, the biggest thing that pleases me actually is not just agents' feedback. That we get lots of really positive reviews from agents, but we take the time to ask clients what they think as well. And the best bits of feedback that we get are from sellers who have sold before. And they tell us
that's a really important one, isn't it? We were talking about it just off camera. It's absolutely vital that we have people like Steph and Nick who can testify to obviously your customer service, the ethos of service and everything else. But ultimately, it does come down as well, doesn't it, to what the end clients have to say. So those people are able to make a comparison are absolute gold, aren't they? So just talk us through what their feedback is in terms of what they've been through before, what they're now able to see.
Well, their feedback is the fact that they can do their onboarding on their phone, on their tablet, on their laptop, whatever it is. The last time they did it, they received copious amounts of paperwork in the post. They had to go off to the post office to get their ID certified and things like that. So it's just a massive improvement on the experience that they had before. But also, it might have been quite a negative experience that they had with their law firm at that time as well. And this is something that I talk about massively, the fact that we have our own CLC regulated law firm in Sort Legal, that gives us a massive control element on that service delivery. So in tandem, we get great feedback about the process at the beginning and how easy and streamlined it was. But then when it's handed over to the case manager at the law firm, it's what happens then to drive those exchanges through to help us get that average of 10 weeks for sellers that started with that. So the tech tees it up, the service progresses it to the finishing line.
Perfect. And Steph and Nick, I mean, is that the experience, your clients' feedback? Are you able to use this, in a proactive way to when you're trying to sell the agency to the business to the public?
I'll answer that one. I've been more first-hand knowledge on it. I think so. Yeah, I think there's two things for me as an agent that are really, really important to me. And one is that the client has an experience whereby I think most people in the UK are quite understanding of the hiccups and the kind of rigmarole that goes with property, because it's a very stressful thing, and there's a stigma attached to it, isn't there? That it's a stressful process. So I think a lot of people are understanding of that. I think where a lot of people, if I take myself back to my high street experience when I ran branches, a lot of my clients felt as though they were being processed like a transaction, like they weren't human beings. And Tom spoke earlier about the emotion that's been in the market within the last 18 months. And I think a lot of people felt very cold and very much like the agent got me sale agreed, they stuck their sole board up, they did their canvassing either side of us, and I was forgotten about and off to the conveyancer who never answered the phone and could never have the time to deal with me, and I didn't know them, and there was no relationship there. So the most important thing I think that brings me is that you can build relationships with these people, and they're very, very good with my clients hands-on. And the other aspect is that for me, I think one of the key things in agency, and has been for a while, is being able to be transparent with people. And what's really lovely about the system that the Agency UK and Sort kind of have together is that I can see everything that's going on with the transaction at any point. So even if I'm caught out, as most agents will probably sympathise, maybe I've been out in the car all day or off to appointments and one of my clients texts me or calls me, within kind of 45 seconds I can pull up where they are and what's going on and have an actual informed conversation with them without having to say, kind of fob them off with, oh, I'll call you back later, I'm not really sure, or let me find out for you. Because that's where that stress and that frustration comes in, because people are trusting me with their largest asset, and they're trusting SortMove with their largest asset. And to them, it's the absolute most important thing in their life. So it's absolutely crucial and important for the agent to be able to manage that process in a really comfortable, streamlined way, where they know that I know what's going on at any point. And likewise, I know that they know what's going on. And that makes my life so much easier as an agent who's now self-employed.
That's really interesting to hear, and it's so that really it's the whole element of transparency is the vital element here, isn't it? You're not hiding anything from the process. People today want to just know in black and white what's going on, and you're able to do that through all of the different partners, and crucially this critical relationship with SortMove here as well.
I think one of the interesting things about Sort is that in an ideal transaction, the client would never actually leave a review about their experience at the end. Now, that might sound really, really strange, but we have the ability through the technology of Sort to be a complete extension of what okay.
Have we lost her? Steph, are you there? Is that me or is that you? Can anyone else see her?
She's gone.
That was just getting to a fantastic element there as well. But Tom, do you ever get frustrated in terms of clearly you've got a real dedication to the customer satisfaction, to your own clients and everything else there. Do you find it frustrating though when agents on the whole are so critical of their conveyancing partners that to stand out from the crowd on that? Is it only through, obviously, I mean, dare I say it, obviously through the very public and excellent reviews you've got, but there still seems to be your biggest competitor is just intransigence, isn't it? It's people just not wanting to change what they've always done before.
Yeah, it's do you know, it disheartens me when I see commentary on platforms like LinkedIn and places like that, where people are being very open and vocal about particular law firms or maybe individuals, and you know what? I honestly don't think, in terms of technical ability, you know, we haven't got conveyancers who are sat there thinking, I actually don't know how to do my job at all, because you know, real issue if that was the case. So you know, everybody's technically able to do conveyancing. I think what lets them down are the business owners, the heads of, who are not investing in technology that's available to them, whether it's through case management systems, whether it's connecting to third parties to help them out. So there are many law firms who are doing things way too manually. still, where the opening line of an update is, I'm writing to the other side, and I think quite literally they are writing to the other side. And I think, Steph, you put a post out I saw yesterday where you actually asked for your fax number as well. All these things are still occurring out there, but that isn't the fault of the conveyancer that's dealing with that transaction. It's the fault of the business leaders behind them by not dragging them into the age that we're in.
Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out today to share your thoughts. I know it's really vital, and I'm sure Tom's really pleased to have this feedback. So Steph, Nick, and of course Tom, thank you very much today, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ivan.
Home.
Cheerio.